Happy New Year when you're watching this, because I wrote and made this episode well in advance, and also it may not be New Year's when you watch this, considering how much lists I have to make. Anyway, 2024 was admittedly pretty mixed in general, but as we enter a new year, it's good to look forward, mostly to the films, because yeesh, and 2025 seems to have a pretty interesting slate ahead of us, so let's get into it. Honourable mentions. So a little house clean. This section is for films I'm interested in seeing, but either didn't make it into the final 10, or I just found more interesting, but I don't know if it's getting a release this year, especially if it might be released at a festival where it sometimes takes years for it to be seen by the general public. So here are the honourable mentions. Aztec Batman. Now, on the surface, this may seem like another animated Batman movie. Those usually are a dime a dozen on the DTV market, but this one is something you should check out, mostly for the premise. What if Batman, but instead of Gotham City, it's Aztec Mexico? This looks interesting, blending real history with comic book superheroics, with Hernan Cortez being a version of Two-Face, and it's cool to see an interpretation of a hero from a different country than we're used to, so there's something to look forward to in that. Queens of the Dead. On the surface, this might seem like another comedic zombie film, but what piqued my interest for this film is who's directing it. Tina Romero, daughter of George A. Romero, so yeah, it's cool to see if this might be like her father's, or that, most likely, judging by the title and the comedic setup, strike out in her own. It's got an interesting cast as well, so yeah, I hope to see if this gets released this year. Red Sonja. MJ Bassett is a filmmaker I don't see talked about much. He's done a lot of action and horror movies like 2002's Death Watch or that Megan Fox Line movie from 2020, and she's done TV work on action shows like Ash vs. Evil Dead, Strike Back, and was the first trans person to work on an MCU project by directing an episode of Iron Fist. Now, she's doing an adaptation of Red Sonja, and if you've seen her last Howard adaptation, Solomon Kane, then you can see she has the chops to direct it, and I'm very interested to see what can she do with this property. Retreat. Now, this looks interesting. Retreat is a thriller film with an all-death cast, and that's something we don't usually see a lot of. Now, not a lot of disabled people get a lot of opportunities like this, and I think if we want to see films reflect the world we live in, we should champion films that do stuff like this. And now, onto the 10 films I'm excited for this year. Number 10. Battle of Thorn High. Joko Anwar is a filmmaker from Indonesia I'm interested in, but I haven't watched most of his films. I've seen his Saint Slaves remake / prequel, and I'm interested in what he's made, which ranges from horror films, dramas, to even Indonesia's very own superhero franchise. And his next film, Battle of Thorn High, sets to be the first collaboration between a Hollywood studio and Indonesia, and that seems pretty neat. Number 9, 28 Years Later. 28 Days Later, to me, is several things. One of the best modern zombie movies, one of the best British movies, and one of the best British horror films, and that's a good lineup to be a part of. So now we're getting another sequel with original director Danny Boyle, original writer Alex Garland, and original star Cillian Murphy, back with actors like Jodie Comer, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, and Ray Fiennes, and what seems to be the start of a new trilogy. And judging by the trailer, it looks really good. I might be infected with rage virus because I'm not walking to see this film. Number 8. Wildwood. It wouldn't be an anticipated list without at least one entry from one of the prestige animation studios. Elio looks fun, co-directed by Domi Shi, who else did Fun Turning Red. We're getting another Zootopia movie, and Bad Guys 2 looks fun, but it's like as Wildwood, which has piqued my interest, because I don't usually pump out a film every year like the other studios, so it feels like an event. The film also boasts a good cast, and judging by the teaser trailer, it still has that handcrafted look that the other films usually have. Number 7, The Naked Gun. I feel like it's been said before, and I'm going to repeat it here, that good spoof movies don't get made anymore, especially in the vein of the Zucker, Abrahams, and Zucker films with their blend of joke minute and sight gags that gave their films their own identity, and that is often hard to replicate. So imagine my excitement that Seth MacFarlane and Akiva Schaffer of The Lonely Island are making a reboot with perfectly cast Liam Neeson in the Frank Drebin role. It seems like a perfect fit. Number 6, The Magnificent Life of Marcel Pagnol. Another animated film, this time from director Sylvain Chomet, director behind films like Triplets of Bellevue and The Illusionist. Yeah, so if you know your animated movies or your French movies, you know. Number 5, Frankenstein and The Bride. Shown in number 5 spot because my list, my rules, and because they're very similar, Guillermo del Toro's Frankenstein and Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride. Both are adaptations of the Mary Shelley novel. One is by a director who's an obvious match for the source material, judging by his appreciation of the genre and how it shows in his films, and the other seems like an interesting take. It's a musical with a good cast behind it. It's feeding my Frankenstein itch. Number 4, The Fantastic Four, The First Steps. Obviously, at the number 4 spot, it's The Fantastic Four. Marvel's first family finally comes to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and with a good cast and director behind it, and with the setting being an alternate 1960s, this film seems like a good time, and it'd be very interesting to see how it ties in with Marvel's multiversal machinations. Number 3, Wake Up Dead Man. Rian Johnson is doing another Knives Out mystery with Daniel Craig in it, and like always, it has a good cast set, it'll do another good twist within a twist like last two, and hopefully it'll be a good time. Number 2, The Life of Chuck. Mike Flanagan's latest film for the first in 6 years is coming and already has racked up a lot of praise at its festival run and the People's Choice Award at TIFF. It sees Flanagan adapt Stephen King again, and it seems to be doing not in the vein of a horror film like he's known for, but in the vein of a Frank Capra film. Seems like it's going to be great. Number 1, Superman. James Gunn is doing a Superman movie, and if you can see how he managed to balance optimism with the Ethan Cruder and weirdo elements of the Marvel Universe, and judging by his previous DC work, then he's a perfect fit. It's also exciting to see this kick off another DC film universe that feels more confident and more embracing of the elements of Superman that haven't gotten the love in previous films. I'm really excited to see what James Gunn can do with this. And those were my anticipated films of 2025. Are there any other films you're excited for this year? Please comment below and also like and subscribe. Well, it's the end of the year, and despite everything else, the movies were good. It was a year about the horrors of pregnancy, clowns, films about TV, prequels, unconventional music biopics, and multi-part films. So here's a list of my favourite films of the year. Now, before we get into this list, I know that I'm going to get asked in the comments section about why I left out certain films on this list. Well, certain Oscar movies, The Complete Unknown, The Brutalist, etc., don't get released in the UK until January, so that's why they're not on the list. I haven't seen the film that you might mention, because I mostly do this channel more as a hobby that I can probably monetize if I can reach a certain number of subscribers. Please subscribe. So I'm not a professional film critic in that sense, so I don't often watch as many films as most professional film critics do, and I just didn't get to see certain films. Juror number 2, didn't see it. Queer, didn't see it. I saw the TV Glow. Regrettably, I didn't get to see it. Why is this 2023 film here? Certain films and questions would have had a festival run in the year before, but have been given a general release this year, which is fair game. I watched it, liked it. I didn't put it on the list because I saw something I thought was better, but don't worry, that's why we have honourable mentions. A Quiet Place, Day 1. This prequel managed to pack a lot of heart in an alien invasion story, showing that in dire circumstances there's still something to fight for. Furiosa, another prequel, this time playing like the slower and observant opposite to Fury Road's high energetic chase. Rita, a dark fantasy that is sometimes harrowing but still helpful in some spots. Not an easy watch but still good. Stop motion, horror and animation combined to make an interesting and unique film that doesn't break new ground in certain regards, but the stop motion animation makes it something worthy to seek out. The Wild Robot. Originally I wanted to put this on my top 10 list, but it got organised out, so that gives you an example of how good it was. Animation is bright and colourful, there's a lot to say about motherhood, and some good voice performances are in the film as well. With those out of the way, in alphabetical order, it's time for my favourite films of 2024. Honora. Sean Baker delivers another look at sex work, this time detailing a romance between a stripper and a son of an oligarch, which starts out like a Cinderella story, but collides into something more tragic, but still funny. Ike Madison is great, given a belter of a performance, but I think praise should also be given to the supporting cast who gives this film some extra depth that makes this work very well. Conclave. Edward Berger's Pontiff election thriller is an engaging and timely examination of faith and the interpolitics of places like the Vatican, with material that might seem a bit dull on one hand. The director and an excellent cast elevate it into a stirring chamber drama about faith, authority, and how people seek it. Daughters. There was a bunch of interesting documentaries I must watch this year, like War Games or Remarkable Life Ibelin, but sadly I didn't get to watch them. But I managed to watch this kind and heartfelt documentary called Daughters. Daughters is about the father-daughter dance in prison, a program set up by the film's co-director Angela Patton to help develop bonds between daughters and their fathers who are in jail. While other films would gesture at the American prison industrial complex, which this film does, this film wisely focuses on fathers and daughters and doesn't play up things for dramatic effect, showing how everyone is feeling. It's a feel-good film about reconciliation. In a violent nature. Inverting the slasher movie archetype has been done before in films like the remake of Maniac for Elijah Wood or Behind the Mask, but what In a Violent Nature does is take a more slower, atmospheric approach to it, often feeling like slow cinema, and while I can tell what horror movie franchise it's riffing on, the film stands on its own as a damn good slasher with some great kills. Longlegs. Osgood Perkins' horror thriller is a creepy and dark film. His direction is great, getting a lot of use of wide and close-up shots and making the film feel uncomfortable, aided by a good Nicolas Cage performance, which I've heard other people seem to have plays with, but I thought it added to the creepiness. Michael Monroe also gives a good performance here as well, telling a lot through looks and reactions. Longlegs is a creepy film, a good one, but yeah, it's creepy. Look back. One thing that made 2024 noticeable was that there was a noticeable lack of comic book films. Well, there was one MCU film in Deadpool and Wolverine, which was more of a Fox X-Men film. We had all the Spider-Man spin-off films that didn't take off, along with Joker 2, and oh yeah, they made another Crow movie. But not every comic book has capes and cows, and Look Back is probably one of the best comic book films of the year, one of the best animated films of the year, and one of the best films about comic books. Based on the one-shot manga by Chainsaw Man creator Tatsuki Fujimoto, Look Back is a great film about collaborative creativity and the friendships that can be born out of it, being a sweet and heartfelt film. While this film has a short run time, and some moments might feel fleeting, but it tells the story how it wants to and does so in the right way. The animation is pretty good as well. Rebel Ridge. What starts out like a riff from First Blood turns into a pretty good action film with a lot of things on its mind. It's good examination on the American justice system and policing, but there was a bunch of damn good action scenes making a good balance. It's also impressive in how the main protagonist doesn't kill anyone, but in how other action films go and works hand in hand with director Jeremy Saulnier's other works like Blue Ruin and how it looks at violence. Aaron Pierre is cool as lead, and Don Johnson should be put on Mount Rushmore of actors who play corrupt policemen well. The First Omen. One of 2024's biggest trends was films about pregnancy. We had comedies about pregnancy like Babes, but the majority were horror films like the Rosemary's Babies prequel Apartment 7A, Alien Romulus, Immaculate with Sydney Sweeney, and my pick, the Omen prequel, The First Omen. Yeah, don't know why there's a bunch of movies about the horrors of your body being used to further someone else's ends. Anyway, First Omen has no right to be as good as a prequel to The Omen could be, but director Akasha Stevenson makes some creepy and disturbing imagery that sticks with you, and now Tiger 3 also gives it her all in this film as well. It feels like a satanic called The Midwife episode, but it's a damn fine horror film. The Shadow Strays. I've already reviewed this in depth, but to repeat myself, Timo Johansson's Shadow Strays is a brutal and visceral and intense action film. For action scenes that are as tense as they are bloody, he doesn't pull any punches, and that doesn't make it hard not to look away, and still adds a human element that makes the film all the more engaging. The Substance. Another film I already reviewed, but in short, The Substance is a creepy and timely film that can be a good treat to you on age, the media industry, and what it does to being a woman, and also a great body horror film that emulates the works of Cronenberg and Brian Usna, but stands out on its own. Demi Moore gives a good performance here, along with Mark Qualley, who had a good year herself, being in the Underage Driver Ray Dolls and a Yorgos Lanthimos Kind of Kindness. The Substance is a great horror movie and one of the best of the year. That's why it deserves a place on this list. So those were my favourite films of the year. What were yours? Please comment below and like and share.
So we're halfway through the year, and I thought, why not do a midpoint best films of the year list? Mostly to show what I've enjoyed throughout the year so far, inform you, the audience, of films you might have missed during the year, and give you time to catch up on them if you missed them. My rules are still the same as the best of 2024 list, must have been released to an audience in 2025. Films that had a festival release count. Films that had a run in theatres the year before getting released in the UK do not count. Anyway, let's start this list with Number 1. Black Bag, a cool John le Carrière-esque spy thriller directed in a no-nonsense, no-frills manner, but Steven Soderbergh still adds a lot of style into it. Number 2. Bullet Train Explosion. While I haven't seen the original that this film is a sequel to, I found it a good time. Like most disaster movies like this, it has all the same hallmarks of the genre. people in suits figuring out how to solve the problem, cast of different character archetypes all stuck in one location, and tense situations to go into. The film is a sequel to a Japanese film from 1975, and you don't have to watch that film to get the full picture for this film, but towards the end it does connect itself with the original film where the uninitiated might get lost. The film is available on Netflix. Number 3, Drop. From Happy Death Days, Christopher Landon comes Drop, a confident and fun thriller. Here, Megan Fahey goes on a date and is given sinister Dropbox messages. It's a good time, premise is used to full effect, the situation is tense, and like Landon's other films, has a good mystery to it. Number 4, Havoc. 11 years ago, Welsh director Gareth Evans made probably one of the best action movies of the 2010s in The Raid 2. A shining gem and a pretty good year for action movies in retrospect. This year, he returns to the action genre in Havoc, a film that got delayed a bunch, but the end result is good. It's not as transcendent as the Raid movies, but it's a good time regardless. The action is great with viciously bloody style and close-quarter gunfights. This film is also streaming on Netflix. Number 5, Revelations. From Train to Busan director Yeong Sang-ho comes Revelations, a mystery film from South Korea about a priest who gets interested in one of his parishioners who might be involved in a police investigation, and that's all I'm going to say from here on in. It's a good film, there's a lot of moving parts, some don't get as much attention as they should, but I was entertained by it, especially with the performances. If you have seen Yeong Sang-ho's other films, you can see the attention he pays to themes like family and guilt. This film is, yet again, on Netflix. Number 6, Sinners. Lots of things have been said by people who are smarter than me about this movie, and probably have better recording equipment than me as well. But it's still true. Ryan Coogler's Sinners is both a great vampire movie and a loving piece on the communal power of music. Michael B. Jordan does a good double performance, and Jack O'Connell is having a lot of fun as the main villain. Number 7, The Monkey. I liked the latest Final Destination just fine, but I found this latest Stephen King adaptation by Oz Perkins just slightly more than that film. Not saying it's bad though, it's actually pretty good as well. Here, Perkins trades in the slow burning and disquieting horror of his previous film, Longlegs, for a straight-up black comedy, and it's effective. The film goes straight into a gleeful and over-the-topness with the deaths, and they're funny, making it feel like it would have been a great fit for a Creepshow movie if the film was a bit shorter. With the recent drought of theatrical comedy films, I found The Monkey one of the best comedies I've seen so far this year. Number 8, The Wedding Banquet. I haven't seen the original Ang Lee Wedding Banquet, but I found this remake thoroughly enjoyable and a great feel-good movie, probably my favourite of the year so far. A thoroughly modern look at queer relationships with great performances all around, from a cast working on all cylinders. It's a delightful and funny movie as well. Number 9, Thunderbolts. While I still enjoyed the post-Endgame movies, Thunderbolts is probably the best of the recent bunch. The film is great in version of the superhero team-up, where the cast this time are all washouts with different sets of hang-ups that they all have to deal with, and the actors who play them all work well together. Lewis Pullman's Bob is one of the year's best new characters, and the film's way of talking about mental health makes this one of the best superhero movies of the year so far. Number 10, 825 Forest Road. This film sees Hell House LLC director Stephen Cognetti step away from his found footage franchise that concludes this year with a completely different horror film. Shot like a regular film, but it's still a creepy and scary film nonetheless. The film is told in a Rashomon style, with each act being told from a different perspective, and he manages to craft some excellent and creepy scenes from this setup. I'm excited to see what he does next, especially as his next Hell House film seems to be doing away with found footage style as well. So these are my favourite films of the year so far. Just adding this here, saying that I just watched The Phoenician Scheme yesterday. I was in the middle of editing this, and that's also a good film I also enjoyed, and probably one of my favourites of the year so far, and I just put it on here because, well, don't know where else I'm going to talk about it. Will this change at the end of the year? Maybe, maybe not. Will I be reusing clips of these in my end-of-year video this year to save time? Probably. But I might have other things to say about these films down the line, so who knows. Now, what's the best film of the year you've seen so far? Please comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Hey, do you like movies? Do you like movie reviews? Then this channel has stuff like that. There's Watch This Space, my film review show, where I view recent films, and I also make short films, like Correspondence, which is very unique. If you'd like to see stuff like this, then please subscribe to stay updated on my work. Also follow my social media channels as well, so please subscribe to my channel.
And thus, it's the end of the summer, and now it's time to take stock and look back at what we did during it. I mainly watched films, so here's a list of some of my favourite films of the summer season. Now, lists like this are kind of a bit superfluous as studios spread out their tentpoles throughout the year. Big hits like a Minecraft movie and Sinners came out in April, a month before the summer movie started. But I'm keeping this list restricted to films that came out from May to August, and yes, that will include streamed movies in this list as well. Also, it was kind of hard to find what film qualifies as a blockbuster, and there are two films I liked, but I was confused on if they belong on this list, and that's why we have honourable mentions. The Life of Chuck. Mike Flanagan's first film in 60 years since 2019's Doctor Sleep is a change of direction from the director's horror-based work, but he still gets to execute those horror film skills successfully here, delivering a Stephen King adaptation with a lot of heart and a great ensemble cast all getting their own moments to shine. The Phoenician Scheme. Wes Anderson's espionage caper is a lot of fun, but behind the intricacies and the humour is a sense of yearning for times lost and connection, with Benicio del Toro and Mia Freppleton giving great performances that match Anderson's style. Now with those two out the way, let's get to the main event. Final Destinations, Bloodlines. I haven't seen a Final Destination movie before, but I do know the formula and the premise. See also Osgood Perkins' excellent The Monkey. But I had a lot of fun with this film, managing to have fun with the premise and crafting some excellent Rube Goldberg deaths. But it doesn't let the fun underscore the dire stakes of this film, as it is a family being killed. Add in an excellent swan song for the dearly missed Tony Todd, and you've got yourself an excellent horror film. Happy Gilmore 2. 10 years ago, Adam Sandler made probably two films that would define his career, whether he intended to. Pixels and The Ridiculous Six. One being his last big theatrical film outside a Transylvania sequel or Uncut Gems, and the other being his first in a long line of Netflix films. Now comes this legacy sequel to one of his best films, and while it's a bit too full of callbacks and cameos, Sandler puts in the effort here and does some good work here. He adds some pathos amongst the laughs, and it works really well. An excellent crowd pleaser. This film is available on Netflix. K-pop Demon Hunters. I've already reviewed this film and also examined why it became such a big hit. But to reiterate, K-pop Demon Hunters is an energetic, bright, and funny film that taps into a modern zeitgeist but manages to chart its own story regardless. The animation is great here and excels when it gets to be very cartoony. This film, as you well know by now, is available on Netflix. Materialists. This is one I debated put on here because on one hand it's romantic comedy, but one that is made by a director whose last film was nominated for an Oscar, so it has that little prestige element, but it's my list and it's my rules. Anyway, while many were a bit shocked that the film we got was different from what was marketed, I found Celine Song's examination on modern dating culture and deconstruction of romantic comedy excellent. Fits in line with the themes of past lives, especially with regards to distance, this time on the financial angle, and Dakota Johnson proves she's more than 50 Shades or Madam Web. It's probably one of the year's most divisive films, but I think it's one of the best. Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. While I like these films, I'm not one of those who treat them as the saviour of cinema. But Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning ends the series, for now, on a high. Well, yes, it is a bit too front-loaded with exposition in the first half, but when it gets going, it gets really going. The submarine sequence and dogfight scenes are standouts, and were amazing to watch on the big screen. Predator, Killer of Killers. I feel this is what streaming movies should do more of, especially if they're spin-offs of big franchises. This animated spin-off of the Predator movies feels like a direct-to-video movie from 2007 that you mostly watch via clips on YouTube, but this film boasts three great little stories set in different time periods that are all strong in their own. And then the Predator shows up and flips the script on them. The film manages to focus on certain aspects of the Predators, and matching it to a different period of human history is an inspired choice. The animation is good as well, which has a painterly look to it. This film is streaming on Hulu in America and on Disney Plus overseas. Superman. James Gunn managed to do what no other Superman movie has done before and embrace the weirdness that is comic books, kicking this new DC universe off on the right foot with a hopeful tone and a timely message. David Corenswet's turn in the trunks is an excellent one, and Nicholas Holt's Luthor is a despicable one. It's a great film. Super, you might say. The Fantastic Four, The First Steps. Marvel's first family arrives to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and we get to see the four embracing the Silver Age stories of the Lee Kirby run that made the Marvel Universe. Finally getting Galactus in his purple glory and being a bit more introspective. A bit like Eternals, the other Kirby adaptation in the MCU. The cast here all do good work, all getting time to shine, especially as the film focuses on the family aspect. While there's some bits not getting that much focus due to editing, it's still a fantastic film. The Naked Gun. This lived up to the hype for me. The film manages to recapture the joke per minute of the original films with all the effort put into it. Liam Neeson goes all in with the silliness with a straight-laced performance, aided by again Pamela Anderson. 28 years later, Danny Boyle and Alex Garland go back to an infected England and taps into a plethora of themes, ranging from social aggression, masculinity, colonialism, to make a great horror film. Boyle and Garland also play around with the fact that the zombies in this film aren't the undead ones that we know and give probably one of the most poignant moments in a horror film this year. I'm excited to see what Nia DaCosta does with the sequel in January. So those were my favourite films of the summer. Agree? Disagree? Please leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel to get more videos like this and other stuff I'm making. As 2025 draws to a close, it's usually a time to look back, but for this episode, I want to look forward at what 2026 offers us on the film front. Now, a small disclaimer, this list will be films that have a sort of release date, so no independent films that have not found a distributor yet will not appear on this list. And I should also acknowledge that films' release dates are subject to change. My previous anticipation list had films that got pushed back, so there's a good chance that some films on this list might be pushed back to 2027, so be cautious of that. Now, before we get into the main event, let's get to the honourable mentions. These are films that might come out next year, but don't have release dates that I'm interested in, so let's start with Daisy's Life. Masaki Yuasa, Mind Game, Night is Short, Walk On Girl, Lou Over the Wall, and Inuo has another film coming out from his new studio Ame Pippin. This film is an adaptation of Banana Yoshimoto's Daisy's Life. I'm excited to see what Yuasa has to offer this time. Pelangi de Mars. One of the things I tend to do is try and watch a variety of different films from around the world. One film I have on my radar is Pelangi de Mars, a science fiction film from Indonesia, and to my knowledge the country's first. It looks good and I hope to see it next year depending on how it's distributed outside of the country. Rogue Trooper. Based on the 2000 AD comic, Rogue Trooper sees Moon and source code director Duncan Jones venture into animation using Unreal Engine 5. Looking by these preview images, it looks really good, so let's hope it comes together. It also has a stacked cast of great British talent behind it. Now let's look at the films with solid, at the time of recording, release dates. At number 1, it's All You Need Is Kill. Edge of Tomorrow, or Live Die Repeat, depending on how you call it, is getting another go, or just that light novel it's based on is getting adapted again, this time as an anime movie detailing a different perspective from the novel and the film. The animation looks good. It has a good cel-shaded CGI look that I mistook for 2D until further inspection. I'm excited to see what this film has to offer. Number 2, Clayface and Supergirl. Sharing a spot here because they're both DC Universe films, and the two are films that mark big firsts for this new superhero series. Supergirl is the series' first female-led superhero film. Clayface is the first film focusing on a villain. There's also some of the universe's first projects not directed by James Gunn, so it's interesting to see what directors Craig Gillespie and James Watkins bring to the table. With Clayface, it's the first horror project for the universe, which is a rare thing in this genre, and has a screenplay by Mike Flanagan inspired by the Batman animated series episode Feet of Clay. I'm also excited to see Supergirl as it's inspired by Tom King's Great Woman of Tomorrow storyline, and it looks a lot of fun. Both films have a lot of interesting things going on for me. Number 3, Coyote vs. Acme. Coyote vs. Acme is finally getting released in 2026. The film was shelved by Warner Brothers for a tax write-off, but due to backlash they reversed the decision and led the film to be shopped around to other studios and now will be released by Ketchup Entertainment. That's great seeing a film be released, but then there's the premise of the film, which sees Wile E. Coyote sue Acme Products in court for failing him all those years in his attempts to catch the Roadrunner. I love Looney Tunes, I love Wile E. Coyote, I love the premise, I love that it's getting released. It's also co-written by James Gunn, so I'm pretty damn excited about this. Number 4, Disclosure Day. Steven Spielberg. Enough said. Number 5, I Love Boosters. In 2018, Boots Wiley's excellent debut, Sorry to Bother You, was a wild movie. In 2026, he brings up his follow-up with I Love Boosters, a film about shoplifters. The film's cast include Keke Palmer, Naomi Ackie, Taylor Page, Demi Moore, Don Cheadle, and many more. I've definitely got this film penciled in, and hopefully it's going to be released in the UK, unlike Sorry to Bother You. Number 6, Mononoke the movie, Chapter 3, The Curse of the Serpent. I feel like the Mononoke movies are pretty underrated. Some of the best animated films I've seen recently, and 2026 offers us the conclusion to the medicine seller's escapades in the Yoku. This one seems to finally involve the Shogun, who's made sporadic appearances in the films, and could possibly tie up other mysteries that have popped up about the Yoku in the films. Well, I'm probably going to have to watch the film to find out if they'll answer my questions. Number 7, Resident Evil. Zach Cregger, fresh off Barbarian and Weapons, is doing a Resident Evil movie. I hope he brings the level of crafty mystery and darkly humorous horror to this video game adaptation, which its source material has managed to tell the line between silly and scary, so I'm really excited for this. Number 8 was originally going to be the Avatar movie they were going to put into theatres, but during production of this was announced to be moving to Paramount Plus, so I had to take it off the list. So that Street Fighter movie looks pretty silly. Number 9, The Social Reckoning. David Fincher and Aaron Sorkin's The Social Network was one of the most prescient films of the 2010s in regards to how Facebook and the larger tech world would affect our lives one way or another. Now, Aaron Sorkin directs a sequel 16 years later in a world where the tech industry seems to have made our lives not good. So it'll be interesting to see how this film tackles that. Number 10, 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple. I love 28 Years Later, one of my favourite films of 2025. The sequel sees Nina DaCosta take the director's chair from Danny Boyle. I'm excited to see where the sequel goes to, and I love DaCosta's other films, and I'd like to see how a non-Brit handles the material, considering 28 Years Later had a very British cultural sense about itself. So those are the films I'm excited to see in 2026. What films are you excited for in 2026? Please stand off in the comments below and have a great 2026 from me. Number 8, The Legend of Aang, The Last Airbender. Avatar The Last Airbender is probably one of the big Gen Z touchdowns, like what Star Wars was for Gen X, and insert recent reboot/revival here for millennials. So it's getting a movie. The film will focus on a gang as young adults with a new voice cast, including Stephen Ewan as Zuko and DeYoung Kwan as Toph, who is legally blind, so you don't usually see someone with a disability like that headline a film, animated or otherwise. The film also will be directed by Lauren Montgomery, an animation veteran who worked on both Last Airbender and Legend of Korra, and also some of the best DC animated movies like Green Lantern First Flight and Batman Year One. Happy New Year! To bring in 2026, let's talk about last year's movies. The criteria for this list is as follows. Films must have been released in 2025. Awards films that had their wide release in the UK in January and February will not be on this list as they had their limited releases in 2024 and are not 2025 films. Nor will international films that were released in their country of origin in 2024 will be on this list as well. But festival films that premiered in 2024 during the festival circuit but got released to the general public this year have a place on this list. This is my list, and those were my rules. So let's start this with the honourable mentions. With those films out of the way, let's move on to the main list, in alphabetical order, starting with Frankenstein. A Match Made in Heaven, Guillermo del Toro's adaptation of the enduring novel, managed to be a glorious film draped in gothic extravagance, but still contained del Toro's humanistic touches. Jacob Elordi gives us one of the best interpretations as the monster, and Oscar Isaac is equally good as his madcap curator. Jay Kelly. While it might be a bit too winky to the camera, Noah Baumbach's character study managed to be a heartfelt but bittersweet journey, examining the roads both travelled and not. George Clooney gives one of his best performances, and his delivery of the film's final line will stick with you. I know it did for me. Left-Handed Girl. Shi Ching-so's intimate kitchen sink drama is a beautiful piece of filmmaking. The use of an iPhone camera to film the movie gives the film an up-close and personal feel to it. But it's performances from Janelle Tsai, Xing Yuan Ma, and Nina Yi who makes this film, with each having their own distinct little tableaus that all weave together seamlessly. Materialists. Celine Song's follow-up to Past Lives was a great deconstruction of romantic comedies than what most people expected, managing to pick apart different aspects of the genre, but comes out as a strong example of it, with a lot of heart and great performances from Dakota Johnson and Chris Evans. One battle after another, Paul Thomas Anderson delivers a hilarious but timely political pinch on polemic. Leonardo DiCaprio's mad dash odyssey to save his daughter managed to touch upon various current political subjects that didn't feel preachy nor watered down. Add in a villainous turn from Sean Penn and a breakout performance from Chase Infinity, One battle after another will be a film that will be looked back as one of the films of the decade. Sinners! Ryan Coogler's vampire film was many things, apart from being a great vampire movie. It was a great hangout movie. It was a great piece on cultural hegemony. It was a good treat to see on the communal power of music, but most importantly of all, it was a damn good movie. Michael B. Jordan impresses doing double duty, and Miles Canton was a great discovery. Superman. James Gunn managed to bring the Man of Steel into the 2020s with a timely and exciting adventure. Managing to combine his unique sensibilities as a filmmaker and build upon what comes before, Gunn manages to make Superman feel fresh and relevant and most importantly hopeful in a world seemingly less so more and more. The Long Walk 2025 was a banner year for Stephen King adaptations. Glenn Powell was Running Man, Mike Flanagan showed us Chuck's Life, and Osgood Perkins got up to some monkey business, but it was this adaptation of one of his earliest novels that stood out. Simple in its premise, brutal in its execution, The Long Walk was a unrelenting watch, but at its heart contained a great ensemble cast and a lot of effort on screen. The film's use of imagery evokes Vietnam, but still feels striking and timely all the same. Train Dreams. Clint Bentley's Train Dreams gives us a great performance from Joel Edgerton, but a beautiful look at the changing landscape in America from the point of view of one man. Beautiful cinematography, and for a simplistic story, manages to pack some interesting and surprising turns. It's a small, intimate epic. 28 years later, Danny Boyle and Alex Garland's return to the rage virus-infected England was a fascinating examination of modern Britain. Taking J. Romero route by leaning into the social commentary than the previous films, 28 years later managed to cover a lot of contemporary topics like the effects of Brexit, the pandemic, toxic masculinity, and even assisted dying, as that was a topic raging on in Parliament as the film was released. The film played around in its apocalyptic playground as well, doing some more interesting things with the rage zombies, also having both moments of great terror and great beauty in one film. Those were my favourite films of 2025. What were yours? Please comment below, and don't forget to like this video, share with all your friends, and to also subscribe as well. Here's to 2026. Like what you see here? Then please subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get more Watch This Space, but also other things such as my short films. Please remember to like and subscribe to the videos you just watched, and also please check out the Orange Bin, my blog, where I have write-ups of my episodes here, which with links to sources I mentioned on the show. Also contains some of my old blog posts if you want to see what else I used to do back in the olden days. So please remember to check out my blog and like and subscribe to my YouTube channel.